Good morning and welcome, and thank you for joining us for our first webinar presentation from Corsair Solutions. Sorry, my name is Mark Hall and I'm the National Product Manager. We're in our new premises, in our new studio area that we've created, and I hope to briefly run through and give an overview of some of the Lumens AI-based presenter and audio tracking technologies on offer. Some of you may or may not have been to the recent InfoComm, so those who haven't been, we're showing some of the products that also were on display over there. I'm going to touch on how different types of AI is used in our systems. AI tracking technology is not new. However, earlier versions really lack the accuracy that we now have. There were some exceptions, but they always relied on server-based software. They're expensive and complex to set up. So I'm not just going to talk about tracking cameras by themselves. I'm also going to talk about integration into other equipment, such as with things like terrestrial microarrays, gooseneck microphones for tracking purposes. We can take full advantage of the data they provide, and we can in turn use those to engage multiple cameras and automatically switch between delegates as they talk. I'm going to discuss various workflows, show how some of those can be used, and give a brief demonstration of a tracking camera and also integration in with a ceiling tile that we have set up. There's got a lot to cover. I don't want to have death by PowerPoint. It's only a 30-minute session, but hopefully I'll give you some idea of what we can do. We're also available for contact after this event, and we'll have a live Q&A going through the webinar. So we've got various members of Lumens and Corsair that are going to be available to answer any questions. All right, so let's kick off. So a couple of years back, Lumens created a multi-award-winning product called the Lumens VCTR40. This has an embedded AI chip in there, and it was trained by analysing over 1 million faces from all different perspectives. The camera does all the tracking within the system itself. The tracking is smooth and natural, and it can be finely tuned to adjust for speed and sensitivity to suit your needs. It is a dual lens camera, as you can see there. It has a 20 times optical zoom, delivers excellent video quality for live events, studios, video conference meetings, houses of worship, lecture capture. Many tracking cameras you will see have this dual lens functionality. They have both the PTZ and a widescreen panoramic camera. The panoramic camera continually monitors the full width of the stage in the area, and the PTZ can actually just go in and then to establish the person that's tracking on. This camera here, as I just talked about, the PT lens and the panoramic lens you can see there, it has various different modes. The VCTR40 is designed for a tracking distance of roughly 2 to 15 meters. Optimal distance is around about the 8 meters, and generally installed about, say, 2 meters up. They can also be inverted as well, which makes them quite handy. They can run off things like power over Ethernet and sit on the top of the roof, and they're available in black and white. They have simultaneous outputs, so you've got your HDMI output, you've got your 3G SDI output for maybe something like a church, USB output, also various IP streams on there as well. And they also have advanced functionality in there for things like you can actually have block areas. It can actually count the amount of people that's in the room, things like gesture control, which we'll talk about in just a little moment. And you can see in the top right-hand corner, you'll see actually the panoramic camera, what it picks up, and the PTZ camera on display. If anyone can't understand or hear anything, please mention it in the Q&A. I don't know if I've mentioned that already, and we can make adjustments. So hopefully it's all coming through loud and clear. So let's talk about different types of AI tracking and what's out there. There's AI everywhere at the moment, ChatGPT, a lot of AI has been mentioned in it. InfoComm, it's obviously the latest buzzword at the moment. First, you'll see AI used in auto framing, or you'll hear the word auto framing used. This sort of technology is often used on non-PTZ cameras, such as with products like the VC-B11U. And you will hear it referred to as ePTZs. And the ePTZ, or the auto framing functionality in there, automatically adjusts the camera's field of view to capture participants in the area, and it will cut out distracting areas. If it's someone walks back into the meeting, it will readjust as needed. Different forms of tracking we have in products like the VC, the TR40 that I just mentioned. We have the first one is a an everywhere tracking. So everywhere tracking, the camera will continuously track the presenter's movements left and right, forwards and backward over the complete area that you set. You can also set out your block out zones in there as well. So in the little picture, the animation of the lady walking, you know, you might have a block out area of the students or sitting on a chair that you don't want to interrupt the tracking on that. We also have a stage tracking, very similar, but it basically focuses on a set area and it will just follow the person back and forth over the area that you set behind a lectern and track them across the stage area. We also have a partition tracking, and I'm going to actually show partition tracking after this demo, the presentation. And you actually create zones. So this will allow the presenter to move in a specific area, and you can have an area as a lectern that they walk up to, and it will zoom in closer to that area. You might walk up to a touchscreen display or like a 65-inch on the wall, and you can zoom in closer when it gets into that area. The other thing we have is gesture tracking. So gesture tracking is an advanced sort of technology where we'll actually monitor users in the AI system. And so when a presenter raises their hands, the tracking target will automatically switch. You can also manually change the track subjects and select individuals through the web GUI. So you might not have it do it automatically, but you can actually just manually let the system do its AI and then click and follow that person as needed. Okay, let's get on to the newer products that we're talking about. So we have a new product called the VC-TR60A. Now this is really an exciting camera. I do get excited about a lot of different things, but this is really cool in what it has. So, and what it offers. So this uses a hybrid AI voice tracking and also motion tracking. So it has a 12 times optical zoom. It's a 4K PTZ camera, dual lens, but it has a built-in directional beamforming microphone. So it integrates the audio and the visual tracking together, and it uses algorithms to prevent tracking errors that we'll talk about. It also has picture-in-picture functionality. So there are some use cases for things like courtrooms where it is very, very useful to have that picture-in-picture output functionality to show the panoramic view of the courtroom, and a picture-in-picture, it might be of the judge or someone giving evidence, and that's output. So that can be very handy, and as I said, it's getting very asked for those sort of applications. So let's see how this works. Well, first of all, it's designed for 4 to 8 meter type rooms, huddle rooms and small size rooms. So this is really where you may not have a ceiling microphone array system, and you want a camera that's going to have all the smarts of using voice tracking and also a visual motion tracking AI in there. So the way it actually works is it has a beamforming microphone, as I mentioned. That beamforming microphone will identify noises or for the speaker's location. It will sort of work out where that location is. Then the panoramic camera will visually confirm if that noise or the person that it's hearing is actually at that specific location. Once that has been verified, then it will then allow the PTZ to move to that location. If it doesn't verify that person there at that location, it's just a noise that's come from there or something there that it's picked up, it's going to stay at the current position. So you can actually see a picture of it there with the microphone array. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but there's little dots down the bottom. So we have the microphone array at the bottom, we have the panoramic lens just above that, and we have the PTZ lens at the top as well. And you can actually see a little picture of the guys from Lumens over at Infocom, and we've actually just won an award over there, which is quite exciting. All right. Let's get on to, I suppose, a different form of like an AI voice tracking. So when you've got these larger rooms and you might want to incorporate the auto tracking camera functionality with gooseneck microphones or ceiling array systems that you may have in there. So we have a product called the Cam Connect Pro. So the Cam Connect Pro is designed to work with many different products, and it's not just limited to the Sennheiser, Shure, Yamaha, Nariva, and Audio-Technica microphones that you see there. We also work with gooseneck microphones. It is very, very economical to compare to, let's say, other solutions that are out in the market, because it can actually run up to 16 different microphones and control 4 different PTZ cameras or auto tracking PTZ cameras with a single unit. So, got a little animation of it here. So, as I said, it works with multiple array microphones or a desktop microphone. It detects a sound location. The microphone, then the information is transmitted to the Cam Connect, and the AI in there determines the angle information about where it's coming from, and then it's set in to work with the presets and the cameras in there to go to a specific position. Hopefully all that makes sense, and the little video there shows that. You'll see that camera 1, it's picking up a noise, it's triggering. Camera 2, it's picking up from the mic, it's triggering the Cam Connect and then the PTZ. So let's see how that can be used in real life. So maybe something like a hybrid meeting room type setup, video conferencing, department meetings. You might have, say, 6 to 12 people. It might be rectangular conference table, a U-shaped conference table. This is how you can set up various different speakers to work with the Cam Connect mics, I should say. Sorry. So here's with a Sennheiser solution for a medium room, and you've got the microphone at the top. You've actually got, you can see in there we've got the PTZ cameras at the top. So the Sennheiser Team Connect ceiling picks it up. It goes through an Ethernet switch. It goes into the Cam Connect Pro. That actually has a USB out that can feed to an MTR for like a Teams meeting, and then it go into your audio DSP and your loudspeakers on there. We can also, apart from the USB out of the Cam Connect, we also have a HDMI out, and we have multi-view outputs as well. So it's very, very flexible in your setup and what you can do. Let's show another different scenario. So yeah, a standard rectangular setup with something like a Sennheiser Team Connect Ceiling 2. We've actually got one of these set up in the office, and I'll show how this works after. Similar type principle. We have the Team Connect ceiling mic up there, runs into the Ethernet switch, runs into the Cam Connect Pro. The Cam Connect Pro instructs all the PTZs to move as needed. And you'll see they're actually they're tracking cameras, so we can actually use its own tracking in there in combination with the mics, as I've mentioned previously. You might have other microphone systems. You might have a bar system like a Nuriva. So we could work with a Nuriva system. So there is a setup with a microphone and speaker bar above a monitor, and that can feed in through their HDL 310 or their 410 module, and then into the Cam Connect and MTR or whichever workflow you want on there. You might have a larger area, so a larger training room with multiple sound bars. So you can see here we've got, you might have sound bars, you might have a front NTR front row set up there, and a sound bar on the side. We can work in with multiple setups and multiple tracking cameras and PTZ cameras as well. As I mentioned, you're also not limited to what sort of microphones you do use. So if you're in the Sennheiser camp or the Shure, the Yamaha, or the Goosenecks, it doesn't matter. We work in with all of those. So you can have a combination of them. And you can see here in the setup, we've got multiple microphones in the roof. So we can have up to 16 of these. So you might have potentially different rooms, and you might have a single PTZ camera in that room, and you might have 4 microphones. They can then control that single PTZ camera in that room, where you might have a physical output going into a setup, but then you might be using the same Cam Connect Pro for another room with exactly the same setup and another PTZ camera as well. Larger size rooms, so you might have a larger setup where you've got 20 to 60 participants, and a corporate, higher education, government area that you need, live projections on there, larger setup. We can still work with those sort of scenarios as well. So we can work in, as we've got here, with wireless desktop microphones in the scenario that we've got set up there. We can also work with different, another popular area is digital new style courtrooms. As I mentioned earlier, we have products of the VCTR60A, which has the PIP outputs. Many different ways we can set things up depending on what's needed. So you'll see here that we've got the picture, there's cameras at the back and cameras at the side, and so that can work in with the Dante audio information and the sound location, then pass that through to the working with the system there to the Cam Connect, as we mentioned earlier on there. Okay, so we're actually going to click through now, and I'm actually going to show you the Cam Connect, how it actually works. So we'll actually just go onto a web page. So you'll probably see here, I've actually got this is a Sennheiser setup, and we've got this set up in the office here. And I'll just get up and walk around, and you can actually see the azimuth changing, and you'll be able to see the little dome and the information from the cockpit on the Sennheiser, give you information out. So you can see that that's actually working. What we'll do is I've also got a page here where I've actually got the Cam Connect. So here's a Cam Connect GUI. As you see, I've got a variety of different, you can set up the amount of microphones, have up to 16 on there. You know, there's TCC2, TCCM, Nariva, Yamaha, whatever we want on there. We have our video output settings. So from the device, we've got UVC, HDMI, UVC and HDMI, and also video output layout options as well. Cross picture and crop on there. Back up to the unit. And we've actually got a VCTR30 down here. We're currently disconnected at the moment. Let's go back into here, and you'll see we've got the zones down here. So when you set it up and you work it all out, we can connect in, we can set the presets up on the camera, TR30, and we can actually connect onto it. And what it will do is when there's triggering on the, you'll see it moving there now, little dots below the device and the camera mapping. So we'll walk around the room. Depending on how this is set up, you'll see it triggering different areas. And this can work, we can have multiple cameras in there set up to trigger and whichever preset on those cameras. So that's a very basic functionality of how it works. So the camera connects into the camera, we've got trigger level, time to trigger, back to home time, back to home camera, back to home presets, a lot of different options in there. But it's definitely worth having a look at this sort of technology. It's being very well received, and a lot of people are quite surprised just how well it works when it's been set up on there. All right, so let's go back to the presentation. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of different cameras we have available. So if I'm looking through, we've talked about the VCTR40. You'll see this up the top here. We also have NDI versions. We have a TR30, which is a very well priced and cost effective camera that I'm going to give a demonstration on today. The only difference with the TR40 is it loses the 3G SDI. And for video conference applications, that's often not needed. We also have the TR60A, which is has the voice tracking technology with the built-in microphones. And we have other cameras in here like the VCTR61 as well. So this is just a rough overview of some of the cameras available. Let's go on to the next slide here. What I have here is I have a VCTR30. So the VCTR30 is set up here in the office. Now it has AI human face recognition. It has different tracking modes. Like I mentioned with the TR40, it has 2 different auto framing modes. It has simultaneous HDMI, Ethernet, and USB out. It's also 1080p 60, and it can be mounted upright or inverted. So we can use this for like automated production as well. It can go about its own business. Now we're going to flick over to the GUI. So we're not going to go, and then we're going to flick to the camera and actually show you a live output. So we'll just get look over here. So here's a TR30. I'll walk back. You can see actually there's me on the GUI at the moment. I'm in the main GUI. If I flick to the live view, this is actually the PTZ camera. Now this is the PTZ camera, how it's set up. Let's just go back to the home position on there. This is our little studio area. Then we've got our tracking area, a tracking setup. Now you'll see the panoramic camera on the right, top right-hand side. You'll actually see the PTZ camera up on the left. We have our people counting there. It will tell me how many people are in the frame. And then we've got various different modes of tracking down here. So we've got everywhere tracking, stage tracking, partition tracking, center stage, auto framing, partition. We've got the speed of the tracking we want. We've got target loss time. So when it's 3 seconds, it will automatically turn off or go back to the center and wide or stay in the last position. And go into one of these, go into everywhere tracking, click on it here. You'll see I've got an area there for everywhere tracking, and I've actually got a block zone down the bottom. So over here, we've got Glenn in there. Glenn's a new BDM. We've put him in a block zone, and we've got basically our stage tracking area. We've then got, everywhere tracking, apologies. Here's our stage tracking area. Got that set up there. And I've also got a partition tracking area as well. So I don't know how well you can actually see it there, but we've actually got some different zones there. So I've got zones in front of the Corsair, zones in front of the 4K PTZ camera at the back, and zones in front of our Corsair logo. So these will be set up to show how this functionality works. So what we might do is we might actually go to come back out of here. Let's go to a stage tracking. So before we switch over to the output of the unit, we'll show you, this is our stage zone. You can see this up here, our blue there. So let's flick on and see what happens and how this performs. So we've got this set up for when it loses basically tracking, it goes back to the center and wide shot, which is currently set up on the left-hand side. So we're gonna say, let's kick it off, and I'm gonna ask Glenn to go to the actual output, which is, I think he's already done of there. So we're clicking onto the auto tracking. We're turning the auto tracking on. I should mention, tracking can be turned on from the remote control via an API or the web GUI. But let's see how this performs. So we've got this on a everywhere tracking at the moment. So sorry, I'll just double check. Everywhere tracking, stage tracking. So my stage area is set up in front of my monitor. So let's come out here. We're saying, just go about your business. Don't track until I'm in this specific zone. Then we walk out into the stage area, and it's going to say, hey, there's a person in there. And after it detects me, get up in there, it will actually track me and how it's actually been set up on there. Actually got the zone set up on there. I think I've actually turned it off. Bear with me just a moment. Right. So we're back in the tracking. I didn't have on the right mode. I've got partition tracking on at the moment. So with partition tracking, as I said, I've set up different modes. We've got an area over here with tracking. So okay, I might be in front of a lectern, so I want to zoom in and give my presentation here. I've got my lectern, I've got my microphone. I walk out of this area, and depending on how I've got it set up will depend on how the camera will function. So let's walk out of this zone that I set up partition here. It's going to just start tracking me or going back to a default position. Sorry, I've actually gone into my second tracking area. So this is my other partition here where I've set up to, I want to give a presentation of the display. So it's going about its business. From the first zone to the second zone set up, I might be giving a presentation over here. And my other third partition area is over here that I've set up, and it's set up to come out to a certain zoomed in mode. So you might have an area, or you might want to zoom in extra close when you're doing a presentation to explain what's on there. We can turn tracking on and off from the remote as well. We have full control from from the IR remote, and we can also change different modes that we used. We have different presets on here. So that's a very rough overview. We do have units for evaluation and demonstration. This one is currently set up and inverted probably about 2 meters up. So really it's about the size of the Corsair sign up there. It's probably about 8 meters back to the camera here that you can actually see on there. So we might click over to a quick Q&A. If we go back to our presentation area there. Thank you for joining us. Click over to here. So please ask away in the chat. And as mentioned, we have some representatives from Lumens and Corsair that can answer your questions. Great, thank you. We'll just leave this on. A few minutes left. Feel free to also go to our website and send an inquiry through there, or drop an email to sales@corsairsolutions.com.au if you want any more information on any of this. As mentioned, there's a lot here, a lot of different technology, but we're more than happy to go through it step by step as needed. Right. Thank you.